Good morning, everybody. Mike Fiducia with Accordant. Thanks for joining us this morning for our BidMatrix webinar, How to Win More Bids. Really exciting stuff for you this morning. You guys are, I think, are really going to enjoy it with BidMatrix's new day tool. So joining me and presenting today is David Moyer and Steve Watt from Bridgetown Software, the developers of BidMatrix. So I'm going to turn it over to them in a second. Just a few housekeeping details. Everyone is on mute for this recording. At the end of the session, this will be distributed to everyone who has signed up and attended today. And with that, I will turn it over to David and Steve.
Perfect. Hey, thanks. We appreciate you guys taking time to do the presentation. Just years of experience with in the construction industry. We both have had vast experience estimating going back in the 80s, a little bit of our age. So what we're going to look at today is a product called BidMatrix, developed by Bridgetown Software. And
hey, David, can I interrupt just a minute?
Sure.
Is the audio breaking up for anyone else, or is it just me?
It is. Yeah, David, you're
yes, it is.
Up a bit. Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm trying to make this better. Do I just need to talk louder, or is it just breaking up?
It was breaking up.
Okay, let's try this a little bit better. If it breaks up again, let me know, and I'll dial in on a phone.
Okay.
Sounds
All right.
good.
So this is an introduction to BidMatrix. One of the reasons we did it because there's a lot of challenges around bid analysis in the construction industry. Whether you're negotiating bids, whether you're doing hard bids, the subcontract quotes that come in, they're either whole, partial, discounted, all kinds of different flavors of bids are coming in every single time we do a contract. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve that and help reduce the complexity of that. We know that the difference between hard bid and negotiated bid, of course, is negotiated bids, you don't have the time constraints, you still have the complexity of those bids. The other thing we have is the tools that are available out there in the marketplace don't support collaboration. They're not a collaborative product. They don't support multiple estimators collaborating at the same time. It's much more of a manual process of taking spreadsheets and combining them manually. And of course, there's a lack of integration with the estimating systems out there to be able to bring in self-performed numbers and compare them against what we're doing with the actual subcontractor numbers. The other thing we struggle with on bid day, of course, is understanding inclusions and exclusions. Inclusions and exclusions determine whether we add numbers to a bid or deduct numbers from the bid. We always want our bids across all of our subcontractors to be apples to apples. And so inclusions and exclusions allow us to have the capability of looking at that and being able to judge whether or not we add numbers or subtract them from a subcontractor. And of course, I hate talking about this because we hear so much about it, but unfortunately, our pandemic has changed the way that war rooms are operating. It's no longer, in many cases, a face-to-face operation. We have to be in separate locations, and the war room now becomes a virtual system rather than a physical system. And unfortunately, we talked about this earlier, existing tools don't support multi-user, multi-location collaboration. And so these are some of the challenges that we're facing on bid day for years, but also coming up to the present, a major challenge right now based upon COVID. So this is why we created BidMatrix. It is truly a collaborative bid room environment. It is a bid room where you can actually manage your bid packages from one or multiple locations. Steve is going to be operating this from Oregon. I'm going to be operating this from Utah. You'll see the collaborative nature of this thing, not requiring us to be physically in the same room with each other. And of course, it's all real time. So the master estimate's automatically being updated to handle, while handling all the complexity of those specific quotes that we talked about. We talked about key integrations being an issue. Well, we started out right off the bat with integrations with the leading estimating tools in the marketplace, including Sage Estimating. Also on top of this, we integrate with SmartBid if you're using that as an invitation to bid. Shortly, very shortly, we'll have an integration to Building Connected from Autodesk as well. So those integrations happen. We'll demonstrate today how we pull an estimate in from Timberline so that you can actually see that. And that's one of the things that are lacking in a lot of tools on the marketplace that right now. It is a true web-based product. You don't have to install anything on your desktop. It is hosted on Microsoft Azure, and so it is a fully browser-based application. Couple screenshots in here, and I'm not going to go into this in depth, but one of the things we tried to do on this thing was make this easy to follow, easy to learn, and so this is a little screenshot looking at how we do path analysis. We have a great visual representation of the inclusions and exclusions. We'll talk about that here shortly as well. And I think one of the most important things on bid day is we're putting numbers in all the time. We want a good, strong audit trail inside of this thing, so we keep track of everything that anybody does in here, and we'll look at that a little bit more in depth as well. So our ultimate goal on this thing was just to make it so that there was no more subcontractor bidding guesswork with you. We wanted to make sure that you had the powerful integrations, the estimating, the invitation to bid, and so forth. And we wanted to make this easy to learn. We're finding that people are saying when they're using this thing, it takes them about 2 hours to get this thing up and running and really understand how to use this thing. So this is not a long implementation process, but we're going to get you to using this product as soon as possible. It is true multi-user, and you can have multiple locations, multiple estimators collaborating at the same time. We do have a great way to manage inclusions and exclusions and supplement bids based upon that. Ultimately, our goal is that we want you to win more bids, but even more importantly than that, we just want to help you make more money. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Steve Watt, and we'll jump into the product.
All right. Let's see.
Hey, and Steve, actually, right before you get into the product, I think I forgot to mention, if any of our attendees have questions, please use the chat box, and we will address them at the end of the session.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Yep, that would be great. We will have some time at the end of the session to address those questions, so that's a good update. Let's see, quick screen check here. Do you see my list of projects on the screen?
We do.
Great. Okay, so we are in the live product now, and as David mentioned in the presentation, the name of the product is BidMatrix, and the company that developed this product is Bridgetown Software. When you first log in to BidMatrix, you are taken to this page, which is the project page. The project page always displays a list of your active projects. So these would be projects that were already created. I may not have done anything more than simply create the project at this point. Maybe I haven't done anything in the bid room yet, but I have got a list of active projects. This view that you see here is what we call the tile view, and it's kind of like a thumbnail view of your project, so that if you had the name of the project, but you also had maybe an image or a sketch of the project, you can actually attach that to the project when you create it, and it will show up here in this thumbnail view. But if you would prefer not to see your lists in this kind of format, in a thumbnail format, you can always go back and say, I want to see my list in more of a grid or a table view, and click up here and select table. And now I see the same list of active projects, but more in a grid or columnar format. One thing that's you can do very, very quickly here is I can sort my list of active projects based on any of the columns that I see here. So I can quickly rearrange these in the sequence that I want, including things like the date that the project was actually created. I also would point out here that on the left-hand side, you see an icon here. This is how you would actually enter that virtual bid room that David was talking about. So you could click on that, it would take you to the bid room. We're going to do that in just a minute. I can also click on any project, and I get a flyout window over here on the right-hand side. And that flyout window will tell me information about the project. So whenever I click on a project, I can see the detailed data behind that in terms of the project information. If I go back to the tile view, the same is true. So if I click on a project, I can see this information over here as well. I can also sort my active projects just like I could in the table view, but here I would go and actually choose the sort that I want and rearrange my projects in the sequence that I choose. Now let's talk about the project information that you enter at the time that you create a project. If you look at any one of these projects, like this Northeast Medical Center project, you'll notice that here it's showing me the image that I attached. And by the way, if you don't attach an image in the tile view, that's okay, because we'll display a default image for you, which in this particular case is this tower crane. So even if you don't have an image, tile view is still fine, because we'll put a default image in there. Over here on the summary information for this Northeast Medical Center, I see the name of the project, the owner, the size of the project, and of course, when the bid is due. So all of that I enter at the time that I create the project. The next tab over gives me some more detailed information about the project. So here, this list, what we call project attributes, this list is 100% customizable. So you create, part of the setup of BidMatrix for any company is the ability to determine what additional attributes you want to assign to a project at the time you create the project. So in this case, we quickly set up, just for demonstration purposes, we said every time we create a project, we're going to code a project to a market segment. In this particular case, healthcare. We're going to tell the system whether it's a joint venture project or not. We might even put in, what's the exterior skin of the building? And in this case, maybe it's prefab panels. Was there an attached parking structure, yes or no? So on and so forth. So this list, and I've only got 5 or 6 project attributes here, you could create 50 if you wanted. There's no limit to the number of attributes. Every one of these attributes also becomes one of your abilities to sort your list of active projects. So you see market segment, whether the project's a joint venture project or not. In addition, in a future release of BidMatrix, we're going to allow you to mine your bid history all the way down to individual subcontractors, but you'll be able to mine that bid history based on any combination of these attributes. So imagine if you wanted to look at your mechanical piping cost as it related to your subcontractor bid history, but you didn't want just overall piping costs. You wanted to narrow it down to those projects that were healthcare projects, for example. You'll be able to do all that by using these attributes that you create. The last tab gets into the whole collaborative nature of the product. As David mentioned, the whole point is I can have a team working on a project, and I can determine who within our company that has access to BidMatrix. I can actually say this project's a public project, so I'm going to let all BidMatrix users be able to get in and look at this project. Private would allow me to select a subset of BidMatrix users to get in. If I say it's a private project and I limit access to this project to just several users, those users are the only ones who would even see this project showing up on the project page. If I weren't invited, that project wouldn't even appear on my project page. I'm going to make this project public, and so that's how easy it is to go in and say which team of individuals are going to be working on this project. Now, we're doing all this and we set these projects up ultimately because we need to do some work in the bid room itself. So I'm going to go to this Northeast Medical Center and I'm going to enter the bid room. And the first thing that I'm taken to is a bid sheet. We call it the summary sheet. This would be your list of bid packages for this particular project. Now, most of you on this call are probably Sage Timberline users, and you might be asking yourself, how did all of these bid packages, and if I expand this out, how did all these get brought in here? You'll notice a bid package concrete, and then I've got various bid package phases underneath it with a budget, with a budgetary number with dollars associated with every one of these bid package phases. These all came in electronically as part of my upload. So if you look here at import estimate, the second option here is I want to upload a Sage Timberline estimate. And if you've been using Sage Timberline for any length of time, you know how important work breakdown structures are, and the ability to code items to various work breakdown structures within the Sage Timberline product. And in this particular case, you would have items in your Sage Timberline estimate that were coded to a bid package, and you would also have those same items coded to a particular bid package phase within that bid package. That's all we need in order to be able to upload all of those bid packages and their associated budgets, just like you see here. Okay, so this was all set up as part of the upload. Now, you don't have to import or upload an estimate. I could actually enter a bid room and see a completely empty summary sheet, and I could click Add Bid Package and actually just start building out my list of bid packages manually here by typing in a code and a description. I can also add bid packages to this existing list of bid packages that I uploaded from Sage Timberline. So you could actually build your entire scope of the project and the bid packages right from here. Because not only do you add the bid package here, but for every bid package you create, you can add a bid package phase to that bid package. So you can see here I have the ability to, a number of ways to actually create those bid packages. Now, Sage Timberline users have a huge benefit in the BidMatrix software, not only because I can upload the Sage Timberline estimate to BidMatrix, but if I look at any one of these bid package phases, I might think, you know, we're going to get bids from subcontractors maybe at this phase level, not at the what Timberline would call the item level. Maybe that's probably too granular for what a subcontractor is going to bid. But we know that there were items that made up that budget, and we actually retain those during the upload process. So if I click on scope, I will actually see the list of items that make up that budget. Okay, so that information is there, and it's going to become very, very helpful when I'm actually in the bid package and I'm entering subcontractor bids. You'll see how being able to have access to that scope from the items will be very beneficial. Now, I'm going to collapse this. I can, with one mouse click, collapse the entire summary sheet. With one mouse click, I can expand it so that I can see every bid package and the phases within the bid package. I'm going to collapse this and go down to plumbing, because we've got one bid package here where we've already begun to enter some subcontractor bids. Oops, let's go to plumbing. And you'll notice here I've got storm drainage, waste drainage, lab waste systems, so on and so forth. So I've got some phases here. I also have some subcontractors here. And by the way, before I leave the summary sheet, the collaborative nature of this product, and really even from a security perspective, I want to know if I've got a team that's working on this project, entering subcontractor bids, I want to know where those team members are all the time. And I'm sitting here in the summary sheet, and if I slide over here to this active user column, I see David Moyer's initials here, and when I hover over it, I see his name. This tells me David right now is in the plumbing bid package. So I know exactly where he is, and if I had 3 other estimators working here, I would see exactly where they are, just like I can see where David is. Now I'm going to go into the plumbing bid package, open it up, and as you can see here, we've already entered some bids. So what we've already done here is we added some subcontractors from our database, and we pulled them into the bid package so that I've got Acme Plumbing and Martin's Mechanical and Murray Hill Plumbing, so on and so forth. So I pulled those from one of 2 places. I either pulled them from a local database of subcontractors that is part of my BidMatrix application, or as David mentioned, I could have pulled these subcontractors real time right out of SmartBid, if that's the invitation to bid solution that you use, and it would actually bring in the subcontractors that gave me a positive acceptance when they received their invite for this particular bid package on this particular project. So those subcontractors can come from SmartBid. They could also come from a local database that is part of BidMatrix. I always want to be able to see what was in my budget. In this particular case, since I brought this in from Sage Timberline, these were my budgets for each one of these bid package phases out of my Timberline estimate. And then I see my list of subcontractors. I might want to take the budget column and make it the last column in the matrix and slide it over here to the right, because what I really want to be able to see is start looking at these bids that we've entered. Now let's talk about these different types of bids. Acme Plumbing gave me a bid of $1.785 million, and I typed a total in on the total cell, and as soon as I do that, I get a series of checkboxes that's asking me, what does that 1.785 million cover? And in this particular case, I checked every box, meaning that total is a lump sum amount that covers the full scope of this bid package. Martin's Mechanical gave me individual bids for each phase within the bid package, totaling $1.761 million. Murray Hill Plumbing gave me individual bids, meaning they would do any individual piece of this bid package, and they came in at 1.774. They knocked almost $11,000, so they gave me a discounted price in addition to the individuals. So they said individually it totals 1.7, but if we award them the full scope of this bid package, they'll do it for 1.763, so about an $11,000 discount if we give them the full scope. Steve's Plumbing, Steve's only gave us individual numbers for the waste drainage system and the storm drainage system. They did not give us bids for the other pieces here, and they also gave me a discount if we award them those two phases that they gave us individual bids for. By the way, as I said earlier, I know that David Moyer is in this bid package with me, and as we mentioned, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and David's in Salt Lake City. I see his initials up here. I can also see the cell outlined, and I see him moving around here, so I know exactly where he is all the time. And we can have multiple estimators, not only in the same project, but multiple estimators could be actually working in the same bid package at the same time. So you look at the rest of these bids, they're similar to the ones that I just talked about. So I put in a total and I talked about what that total covers. Here's another lump sum that covers the full scope. And here's a series of individual bids that are totaled up. Now you'll notice what's highlighted here with the shaded green color. As you enter bids, the system is continually showing you what the optimum path is for this bid package. Optimum meaning the lowest possible cost solution through this bid package is always showing up here. So that you'll notice here, it's selected Murray Hill Plumbing at 28,000. If I changed B&L, if I change that number to 25,000, right? It immediately highlighted that, saying that that is now the lowest bid that we have for domestic hot and cold water. And down below, this is where some of the real power of the system comes. And this is why our experience has been, once people have a tool like this, they can never go back to what they were doing before, because instead of hoping that they found the optimum solution, they know they found the optimum solution. And the reason I say they can only hope in either a manual environment or an Excel environment is the system here is telling me that in this relatively small matrix, there are 1,606 possible solutions to this bid package. It's telling me the number one solution is 1.719, and it involves these bids that are highlighted with this background color of green. It's also telling me that low path is $91,000 below my budget coming out of Sage Timberline. Okay. Now, David went in and took the bid for Martin's Mechanical for lab waste systems, and he required that we're going to use that bid. And he did that by clicking on this more action icon, and he clicked require. So it highlighted it in dark green, meaning even if this bid isn't low, it doesn't matter. We're going to use Martin's Mechanical for lab waste systems regardless. And then he went in, and notice he added a note here, don't use David's Plumbing for waste drainage. So he went in and did the opposite of a require. He did an exclude for that particular subcontractor. And so it highlighted the background color in red. And in a similar way, if this were the low bid, it wouldn't matter. It's not going to use it because I've excluded this bid. I didn't delete it. I didn't remove it. I just said don't include it. And by the way, instantaneously, with those two conditions, there are now not 1,600 solutions. There's 320 possible solutions with those two conditions. So it's always giving you that feedback immediately, and it's telling you that your number one solution involves 3 subcontractors, and you can see the 3. It's Steve's Plumbing, B&L Commercial, and David's Plumbing. So it's telling me that's my number one 3. So the number one solution involves 3 subs. The conditional, right, might involve 4 subs. Okay, and as soon as he removes those conditions, I'm back to 1,606 possible solutions through this matrix. Now, some other things that you might want to do, you might be analyzing these bids and know that, you know, one of the numbers looks low, and maybe when you were reviewing their bid, there was a reason that number looked low. So I might come over here to this 8,300 for David's Plumbing. So I'm looking at David Plumbing's, you know, email with their PDF file, and I recognize that they left something out. So I can come in here and supplement, and I can say, well, the reason it's low is they didn't include the under the slab pipe hangers. So here's where those Sage items come into play. So notice here it says choose uncovered items. I see the items that made up the budget for that bid package phase. And one of the ways to supplement a bid is to tell it which items were not covered by that subcontractor's bid. Or you could come in here and say, I'm just going to add a flat $1,000 to their bid. And you notice I get an up arrow, so change from 8,300 to 9,300. It tells me that I supplemented that bid by $1,000. And I might want to put a note and say, you know, added dollars for hangers. And click my OK. And as soon as I do that, I get a little black tick mark up there. And when I hover over the note, it actually displays the note. So I don't even have to click on anything. I can just hover over that and see the note for why I did that. Now, David went over here because I see the cell being outlined. David did the opposite of what I just did. He did a supplement, but he put in a negative $500. So maybe that subcontractor called us and said, knock $500 off my plumbing equipment bid. So David went in and supplemented that and put in a negative value to reduce that bid by $500. So now, again, my path analysis still calculating all the time, telling me what the low path is. Now, before we look at some inclusions and exclusions and some clarification capabilities, one of the things I want to be clear about right away is you might be looking at this saying, well, I see the number one solution is 1.718 million, but it involves 4 subcontractors. And I'm saving $92,000 for my budget. But we don't want 4 plumbing subcontractors doing this work. We would like to limit our path analysis to 2 or fewer. So either 2 subs or 1 sub. What would that cost me to go from a 4 sub solution to a 2 sub solution? Well, not very much. It's only going to cost me $3,000 here. And when I look over here, I can see that there's 202 2 or 1 sub solutions to this matrix. So if I remove that limit, there's 1,600. but there's 202 that match mine. Now I could be curious and say, well, how many one sub solutions are there? There's 6 one sub solutions, and the number one sub solution is highlighted right here, B&L commercial. And it's telling me what that difference is in cost. And again, not going to cost me very much. So I'm going to come back up here and change it to unlimited. And now I see the lowest possible path. Over here on the right-hand side, as I navigate through the subcontractor columns, I see information, important information about each subcontractor. So I see the contact, primary contact. I see information, things like single project bond limit. These are pulling from one of 2 places, just like when you add subcontractors here. If you're using a subcontractor database that would be part of your BidMatrix application, we're pulling this data right from your local subcontractor database, because these are all attributes that you could set up. If you're using SmartBid, it would actually pull this kind of information right out of your subcontractor records in your SmartBid application. So important information about each subcontractor displays for you here, and you can see it, real time. Okay. Now, let's look at, let's see here. You notice again, when I'm sitting here, I can see all this information. I can document all this, notes everywhere. So that's one of the things to point out, is that you can pretty much every cell in the system would allow you to attach a note. Okay. All right. Now let's go to let's see here. Let's go to the clarifications tab. And you'll notice here, what this allows us to do when we were doing our research, of course, many general contractors said for every bid package, there's potentially a list of inclusions and exclusions that would be kind of trade specific. So here you'll notice I added one here called include site cleanup, and I did that just by clicking on the add clarification. And by the way, all your clarifications, all your subcontractors, all of this information could have been added to the system prior to bid day, prior to you even receiving subcontractor bids. And you'll notice that an additional group of clarifications just came in, and David actually uploaded those. So you notice here it says import. So David actually imported these clarifications from an Excel template or a Word template that actually had those clarifications. And in this particular case, he pulled in a list of plumbing clarifications so that when he's entering a bid for Acme Plumbing, as an example, he can walk down this list, excuse me, and determine what was included in that bid and was there anything excluded in their bid. And you'll notice that they excluded, the under slab hangers here. So did B&L. You notice B&L excluded that. One of the things that this allows me to do is very quickly in this kind of dashboard approach, any subcontractor that's got a lot of red, a lot of exclusions, of course my risk for using that subcontractor is higher than those subs that have everything included in their bid. Now, we also had some contractors say, while I'm actually responding to these inclusions and exclusions, could I add dollars to a bid directly from here? And the answer is yes. So while you're looking at the clarification, you could click on supplement. You could choose a phase and say, I'm going to take my lab waste systems and I'm going to add $3,000 to my lab waste system bid. And you'll notice, just like up above, I get an up arrow icon. And when I hover over that icon, it shows me that I added 3,000. It also puts that up arrow icon up above and shows me the $3,000. So I can see it in both places. So you can add or kind of bid level up above in the matrix itself, but you can also supplement bids right from here, right from the clarification. Now, all through this presentation, David and I have been working together as a team in the bid room. And in our particular case, not only have I been making changes to this bid package, but David was also in here making changes. And we wanted to make sure that we could give you a complete audit trail or a complete bid history of everything that happened over the life of this bid package. So if I click on history, I see a complete list of everything here. In fact, if David were to make another change to this bid package, it would show up immediately. So David just made another change, and that's why I see a new row showing up here in my audit trail. And it shows me the date, the time that he made the change, which subcontractor and which phase were impacted, and what he did. He updated the value to $9,400 for the lab waste system. So I have a complete history of everything here, and I can even filter this. So I could say filter this to cell, and then I could click on any given cell and see the complete history as it related to that particular bid. I can move up here and see the complete history. So you can filter your audit trail and look at it any way that you choose. So if somebody wanted to ever come back and review these changes and when these changes occurred and who did them, you would always be able to see that information instantly. Now, if we go back to our path analysis here, one of the things that is happening also in this environment is right now I've selected this particular group of subcontractors. The selected list, whatever I've currently selected, and in this case highlighted by that light shade of green, whatever I've currently selected is always updating that summary sheet where my list of bid packages are. So if I go back to the summary sheet, I can go down to plumbing right here, and I see this is actually the current selection of subcontractors, and David is still in there working. So based on changes and things that David does, this summary sheet, so now I can see that he selected a one sub solution and he selected B&L commercial plumbing. And so it just replaced all of my budget descriptions under subcontractor with B&L commercial plumbing. I can still see that David's in here. And by the way, if I were the bid captain and I were sitting back on this summary sheet, I might look at B&L commercial plumbing and say, hey, we're good with this. I'm going to lock this down. So now David cannot change anything in that bid package because I've locked it down. And nobody can change anything in that bid package until this bid package is unlocked. If I want to unlock it and give the flexibility to go back in and start changing some numbers, I can do that. But right now I've locked it, and I can also see, here's a good example where David just moved up to the painting bid package, and I can see that's where he is right here. So because we're done with this bid package, David is working in another area. He could have moved on to painting or electrical or mechanical or HVAC, wherever. And I can always see where those team members are and what they're doing. Now, as I start getting bids, one of the things that could become really important is that the bid total becomes more important than even my budgetary numbers. So I'm really curious, now that we've actually started entering subcontractor bids and selecting subs, this bid column is really important. So I moved it over here to the left. And I put a gross total column over here too. And the reason I put a gross total there is I may want to apply some markups to this bid. So I'm going to click on markups, and I'm going to come over here, and maybe for that plumbing bid package, we supplemented that B&L number by quite a bit. And so what I want to do is just to cover myself, I'm going to add a plumbing contingency, and it's going to be a lump sum, and I just want to throw an additional $20,000 in my plumbing bid package. And so here I'm going to limit that $20,000 to being only applied to plumbing. So I'm going to tell it to add that markup. And you'll notice here I have a plumbing contingency markup that wasn't here a few seconds ago. There's the $20,000, and there's the proportionate share of that $20,000 added to each individual phase within that bid. So I can add markups. I could also come in here and say, I'm going to do a fee, and the fee is going to be a percentage, and it's going to be 6%, and I'm not going to limit it to anything. I'm going to add it to the entire estimate. So now I've got a fee that was 6% that was applied to everything. And of course, I see my totals down here in the last row. And then we had people say, could I do a last minute cut? Can I do a negative markup? So could I do a cut of $100,000? And we'll make it negative. And again, I'm not going to apply it to any one bid package. I'm going to apply it to the entire bid. And so now I've got a negative $100,000 cut, and every phase within every bid package got its proportionate share of that cut. Now, couple things. The summary sheet itself, you could export this entire summary sheet to Excel. You can print your bid package summary sheet. You can export the individual bid packages to Excel. You can print the individual bid packages. You can also do that for your audit trail as an example. If you wanted to export your audit trail or print your audit trail, you can do essentially export and print all the data right out of BidMatrix. David, do you think we should go in? Should we create a project quickly to do a Sage import, or is that?
I think we have, yeah, no, let's go ahead and do that. Let's show how easy it is for that to pull that in real quickly.
Great. So I'm going to go back to the projects page because in our example, in our demonstration, we started with a project that already had some data in it. I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to give it a name. So we'll call it the Child Center it's an athletic facility, and it's a University of Portland is the owner, and it is it's a 400,000 square foot project, and the bid is due not until December 16th. Here's where those project attributes come in, so I could tell it, what is it. So I'm just going to pick one here, and I could say that the exterior shell of the building is concrete block, so on and so forth. And when do we think we're going to break ground on this project? And it wouldn't be until March of next year. And now I'm going to go to next. This is where I could attach an image, but I'm just going to go ahead and create the project. And so now I've got this one called Child Center. So I'm going to go into the Enter Bid Room. So this is what I was talking about before. So here's an example where my bid sheet is empty because I haven't done anything yet. And again, I can manually add bid packages, but I want to take advantage of the fact that, I've got a Sage estimate that contains all my budget. So I'm going to click this option, and then I'm going to go browse for that project. And I've got one here called University of Portland Athletic Facility. So I'm going to pull that estimate in that was created in Sage, and you see it building that list of bid packages in the background. And now if I collapse all, I see the list of all the bid packages, and just like before, I could go down to any one of these, expand them out, and see those things that are here, like selective demolition for HVAC. And I could look at the scope and see that the items that were in my Sage Timberline estimate that represent the budget for that HVAC work are all right here. So that's how quickly you can take a budgetary estimate that you've created in Sage Timberline and upload it into BidMatrix to help you so that you're all prepped and ready to go on your bid day software. Okay.
Perfect. And now we have time for some questions.
Yes, we do. So Mike, we'll throw it back to you for any question.
Great. Krista, did you come in the chat window?
Go ahead. One question we have is, what kind of help documentation do you have?
Great question. We think it's extremely complete, kind of world class. So not only is this product, I hope you saw through this demonstration how user-friendly the interface is. But in addition to that, if you click on the help icon, we documented everything here. So if you click on that help icon, there's a knowledge base. So pretty much everything you could imagine, there is help. So every piece of the software, you could read an article. You could even say, you know, uploading, you know, an estimate from Sage Timberline. And here it will show you, here's an example. It tells you exactly, it's saying, you know, you would use your WBS code and say Timberline for bid package and bid package phase. It gives you an example of what that spreadsheet layout would look like, so on and so forth. So everything is documented here. In addition to that documentation, we have a whole series of videos. So maybe you don't want to read the article. You would prefer to watch a quick 3 or 4 minute video on how to do something in the product. So a very complete help system. Other questions?
The next question is, does this software work on all browsers?
Yes. Yes. So you know, obviously I'm using Google Chrome, but whether it's Safari or whatever you may do, Edge,
Firefox
works on all browsers. And there's no, it's all cloud-based, and as David said, it's Microsoft Azure as the hosting service so that we could leverage the incredible security that Microsoft brings to the table. But it, obviously the beauty of a cloud-based product is we are adding capabilities and functionality to this product all the time, and in a cloud environment, it allows us to roll out new capabilities in a very timely fashion, as opposed to, you know, having one massive release every year. We're able to actually update the product on a more timely basis.
Okay, great. That's all the questions that we have at this time. So I think we're going to turn it over to Mike now, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. So David, did you want to throw the slide back up so we could talk about our special pricing for our
Okay.
attendees?
Okay, let me pull that slide up. Give me 2 seconds. Can you see my screen?
We could. So even before we get into this, we're seeing it in presenter mode, by the way, David.
Oh, let's change that.
No worries. So while David's doing that, David and Steve, thank you so much for the amazing presentation. I think this is a tool that the entire industry has been yearning for. And now do we not just have one, but we have a web-based one that additionally addresses the other challenges that the industry is facing today with everything going on. So I hope all of our attendees saw the value of BidMatrix and are excited as we are over here at Accordant. And for that excitement, we are rewarding our attendees and registrants with special promotional pricing through October 23rd. So BidMatrix is $2,400 per user per year. But for our attendees and registrants today, we're actually doing a special where it's going to be $1,992, and you're getting an additional month free. So it actually works out, and there is a caveat. It is a minimum of 2 licenses, but that does work out to just about a 25% discount. So it's an incredible savings. I think you guys have seen, or I hope everyone has seen the value in the ability to do your bid analysis quickly, virtually, and collaboratively through BidMatrix. So any questions on the pricing, I'm going to be reaching out to all of our attendees and registrants, and just to review, address any additional questions, and if there are additional sessions that would need to be set up before moving forward, be more than happy to do that. But incredible pricing provided by BidMatrix, so thank you for that. But we really look forward to working with everyone and putting in this tool in the hands of as many estimators as possible. So with that, that would conclude our webinar. So thank you. This recording will be sent to everyone on our session today. And like I said, I will be following up with everyone to address any further questions and talk about pricing as well. So enjoy the rest of your day. Once again, David and Steve, thank you for the presentation, and we look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.